Heyo! How's it going? Timothy Darrell Young, BS MPA. 15-year tortured targeted individual. Isn't that cute? The guys that run the microwave weaponry be like, oh, look, he's a caveman. Um, I have, that's glass. And then I have glass like for underneath me. This is lead. This is lead. I have glass behind there. And in the sub-reality broadcast that can pop out as a real person around this perp in Hillsboro. Similar tactics, like I think I may have mentioned it before, but like over here, the perp gang, one of like 5,000 that have been up at my grill over about 15 years, is doing the similar Kevin Christian sort of tactic. They get all orgified in the EMF, and then where their bodies are at, if they have an orgasm there, they wake up in their own fluids. So some of that, boilerplate sort of textbook COINTELPRO, it's not the neighbors. Then if you even move anybody in physically, the deed to that is like in New Jersey. Like all of the complexities of, they really invented this stuff and like they can't get caught. Like some of my perps monitors faking stupidity for art of war purposes, and then more weaponized NLP aren't stupid or unintelligent, knows what I think as I'm thinking it, as Kevin Christian describes, then plus has the full force of their criminal gang, the DHS, all the soups of all the different agencies that allow for this secret surveillance, torture, glorified snuff film of my last 15 years. And qualitatively, quantitatively, I'm no different than the TI experiences of like Dr. Horton or Kevin Christian of the Georgia of Atlanta, or Wes Penray, or Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot. Instead of having, she has EMF perpetrators impersonate, most likely, probably not the real thing, like little gray men in her home as a TI. I have EMF perps move in as my roommate, and then practice NLP for the broadcast. Some of them like aware of the broadcast too, which I don't see often, but I get the NLP every 15 to 20 seconds from psychological operations manuals written by narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths that have the enabled invulnerability of the tech where you really can't get killed. And then I can be turned off at a fucking satellite or from the EMF. They can move my arms, trauma-based mind control, get me to think or say things consistently, because it's every 15 to 20 seconds that I normally never would. Unlawful, unauthorized sender receiver relationships. Like, I don't want anybody sending into my head. I still haven't been able to even afford much of the whole Hillsboro being designed around like me not getting my headsets from openbci.com so I can steal my mind back on learning the software and shit. So I got a lot of challenges here, so yeah, these psychological operations, these I'm trying to avoid a false positive, but the tech-enabled and secret second internet EMF broadcast weaponized narcissism out of psychological operation manuals reporting back to like an Army information officer. Some of these perps were talking about how when they introduced EMF beings that were real in other locations, they did it at Watergate. There's some of the gossip and the perp side that the intelligence communities the intelligence community in the U.S. wanted to be so brazen, showing it off for the other intel agencies around the world, like the CIA. What I mean by intel agencies, that they did an EMF perp that was Watergate. Like, how could you do it on your own country? They're like, destabilize, let's let the DJ play, woo! And then, all the problem, racks, and solutions and shelved plans from there on out of repeated patterns of mathematically precise, historically accurate routine happenings, and then all manipulated from the EMF. Like, here's an example of electromagnetic form broadcasting. I don't know if I made mention of this on a video or a while, or for a while. There was this guy, he had a son who had a psychotic break by appearance and flipped out that you found him like climbing a flagpole and like the Middle East somewhere. The son took medication to get his psychotic symptoms to stop. They stopped. Or when the guy started taking medications, his perps stopped broadcasting. And co-occurrence, I could blame it on the meds, when that it wasn't the meds, is that they stopped broadcasting. And then the slingshot of the Satanism is that the guy invests 600 million in schizophrenia research, which is noble and good because nobody should hear voices if they don't want to. It mimics mental illness, psychosis, schizophrenia, synthetic telepathy, all this shit, the terror torture package that they can hide in the nut houses. I'm not the first political dissident that a country's ever done this to. I won't be the last, sadly. But that's what I suspect now as I'm more aware, TI, of a possibility that maybe even a lot of folks, even in medicine, wouldn't think of. Because it's that deceptive, and it's a speed of thought, and the guy invested $600 million in schizophrenia research, and then they avoid any investment or recoil or attack from a wealthy member of the 3D Society onto the EMF by diverting his investment to fit schizophrenia when the real problem is broadcasts. And they keep broadcasting away. So, they've talked about they can't get caught. Weaponized NLP, being able to walk into a courtroom, read everybody's mind, get downloads from what they termed the universal mind, and be able to read in other people's languages. And one of their perp school guys that got away, and I was listening to a discussion about this guy's experience, and he's not saying that he's a perp or an EMF being, and like at the same time while I'm listening to this guy's interview on a YouTube, they're only faking stupidity and they're ruthless and have all of like the full force of the federal government against TI. I was one of they shouldn't have. I'm not a career criminal in the repeating pattern of history. Like I shouldn't have gotten TI'd. Anyways, many of them can say that, but yeah. So they divert the funds, 600 million, to fix schizophrenia, but the real problem is broadcasting. That's satanic misdirection. Boom, right there. Doesn't solve the fucking problem. And that's what I suspect happened. I've been broadcast for 15 years. My mom has remote torture tinnitus that perps brag about giving her. My dad may have had remote torture, a stroke induced. My family's been tattered. I haven't talked to my brothers in years. Threats of going after my house, cousins, things like that. Real vendetta style. For folks that are told on the perp end, there's no life after death anyways. If they can transfer their consciousness here with a monitor, the likelihood of consciousness transfer that even they can't perceive with their wicked smarts after death is more likely. I'm planning on the Lear Jet 40, maybe at 60 or 70, and go through what has depth in the fabric of the darkness of space, as opposed to a hologram or, something that EMF people have encountered, and then aware TI have too, and people who have seen broadcasts. Yeah, I have no constitution. That's rubbed in my face. I was housed with an MK Ultra super soldier man named Sarah, who was triggered because he saw a deepfake porn of me fucking his ex-wife, and he put a hole in the door of DEFCON 4 down the hall. He got kicked out. I wrote on the wall that I wanted to be free, and my new name, and that, and using medical marijuana that's legal to keep me from not getting angry. A lot of dudes in the hood know what I'm talking about. The pharmacological or the medical benefits of keeping a cool head, staying stoned when you're under a lot of pressure, like a TI every 15 to 20 seconds. But like writing on the wall that I wanted to be free in my new name, and smoking legal medicine gave my deep captured, allegedly nonprofit grounds that the health and safety of those, ironically, in the facility were put at risk by that. My health and safety is put at risk by the perps that move in or pop in from their own basement anywhere in the world. Um, so I have about a month to move out, and I may have like a step down facility where they can watch my meds. Like a perp was bragging about like a whole sheet of meds that I got wasn't even real medication. That happens to TIs a lot. Like you'll go to a pharmacy and they'll capture it to make sure you get placebo, just to make your life just that much more hell. The talk that another TI was talking about sanitizing pleasure. Yeah, that's been a part of my life. I get remote torture induced abdominal internal organ attacks that manifest as like from remote torture. Uh, like really bad acid reflux I've had for over decades and like 15 years, and it was from the remote torture. Yep. So, yeah, Portals has depth. In the fabric of space-time, you couldn't really hologram around that. Allegedly, light from other parts of the galaxy shoots through it in rotation. And I'm better prepared than most to get through the weaponized JPEG sub-reality of the EMF and on from there past the fucking fourth plane or fourth grade. I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and so I'm betting Lear's right. Billions to one. It's a concocted reality, part of a concocted cosmos of like a. It's called almost like a quantum computer cosmos. I think it's some of the verbiage that David Icke's been talking about for years. I don't know all the answers. I'm nobody's guru. Nobody saves you, but this is like a aspiring arhoot. I'm gonna be dead in like 20 or 30 years. Like I can't even talk to people because they won't stop the NLP specifically. So I'm not able to talk to you about stuff like moments of death and getting out of incarnation, or what you may be tricked in when something knows your thoughts as you're having them. Maybe your whole life recall, faked people close to you. No, where have I seen that before? I mean, every day for the last, so many years of psychological operations. I got hit with a direct energy weapon in my throat to sort of screech me out. So I'm happy for good days. Like when they use less direct energy on my body, I feel better because it would have been naturally inside of me. And a debate well had, even in the EMF, that I want to talk about when talking about synthetic telepathy and good feeling that you think is coming externally when it's really from you. Like the bait of, get into synthetic telepathy because you can get the good feelings. Here's a breakdown from the scientists, the pros, who have the degrees in the science to know. For folks that have done any kind of drug, even alcohol, your body doesn't actually get high from the pot you smoke. It's your body's reaction to the substance. Similarly, like as my body processes a pot high to sanitize my pleasure, the electromagnetic chemical reaction going up my spine to my brain can be sanitized with brain-computer interfaces so I don't get as high as part of extrajudicial punishment, keeping you in perpetual states of reincarnation. Anyways, the pot thing, it can be, your body, so the signal that if somebody has their own brain-computer interface and they're throwing out a monitor consciousness as Kevin has, and they've got the setting so it tells their body back where it's passed out to feel good, it's your body's reaction to the brain-computer interface, not necessarily the brain-computer interface at all. Similarly, if your body is doped up with heroin, your body's reacting to the substance, and it's your body making you feel euphoric or falling asleep on a train, standing up. I've seen some shit. I'm not a heroin addict, thankfully. So your body never gets high off coke. It's your body's reaction to coke. Your body never gets high off brain-computer interface. It's your body's reaction to brain-computer interface, and such and so forth. And I've been made a human popsicle for suffering, along with 1.5 million broadcast Americans. I estimate there's 5 million or so with the headgear in the U.S. and no calculations on abroad, but it's overseas. But it's definitely an international context. I'm 40. The World Wide Web is 30. That's only part of it, the satellite, the EMF infrastructure. Exactly like how Kevin Christian talks about. And I don't think he knows his videos may be getting modified. They may be inserting contrary retorts to things I say to try and do a divide and conquer between Kevin and I, and he doesn't even see that my end the video gets modified. But that's standard practice. Deny constitutional ability to organize for TI of constitutional rights and bills of rights. So I try not to take it personal. And for TIs, don't trust your impulse. Don't trust the first impression, because all that shit gets sabotaged. Learn from other TI. Once in the number 4all.com, jameslico.com, Project Camelot, John Lear, myself, Wes Penray, and others on the Black Depth in Space portals, and then maybe some other things. There was even some talk of like some of my perps trying to patent the N52 level magnet wrapped in like a medical glove, of a finger of a medical glove, and then just tie it off. And then if you need tape it to your hindquarters, or women know their body, the exterior of their toy for reproduction, to avoid EMF rape codes like Dr. Horton did. Some of my perps, to try and keep that from TIs learning how to destroy their rape codes, we're talking about trying to patent that. Open source that motherfucker like I did. I mean, I tried to talk about it as many times as I could, and lead clothing, the N52 level magnets destroying rape codes works. It's worked for me. And it's been tested against repeated attacks. It saves straight dudes from hell, from remote torture, and prevents straight dude eugenics. Hey, I'm a straight dude. Looking out for you guys in hell, for the TI, because the EMF designs it around us. I get tricked into saying things I don't really mean, because it's from remote torture, behavior modification, the synthetic telepathy in a singularity kind of way, because you're kind of 50 years behind me, and then some other kind of stuff, just because is happening, like Asia, Africa, the UK, the US, and then the Chinese are getting broadcast. Somebody was just talking to me about a headline that I saw, fake news or not, about how the Hong Kong citizens can't really communicate that well with the mainland Chinese citizens, and that's political division or censorship, and then the Chinese men, women, and children don't want to be broadcast to. In my home, I give a comical voice to some of the perspectives from these sociopaths, narcissists, psychopaths, enabled by this tech that really can't die in front of you. And professionals in fields such as the military, the police, the intelligence communities already are going to be much better and more effective experts at controlling psychopaths than a Nerd Kingdom bookworm who has survived some pretty torturous TI designs around me. So I don't think I'm going to be able to aim to humiliate all of these perps from broadcasting me. And at the same time, I think I'm hilarious. And it's weaponized humor, so I should be more careful. Your humor gets macabre when you're getting tortured around the clock, or mine has. So it's a difficult life as a TI, and moments of death, I think we're all systemically misled about it. I encourage you to watch the John Lear interview on maybe Project Camelot, when he discusses talking to Steve Jobs' wife after he died and seeing that dying process. And like a while after he appeared he had died, Steve Jobs' body was like, whoa! And he's like, he probably got hit with the high computing power stuff from the moon and was getting sucked up as human capital, like, indiscriminately, all of us treated so badly, most don't know it, for more reincarnation on the human capital free energy farm and chakra destruction center that is the earth. So it's legal to commit suicide in Oregon, because I'm a TI, I can't buy a gun. I don't want to commit suicide anytime soon. I'm trying to fight off getting induced to it by NLP cowards from other locations. But I've definitely planned my death, and it's going to be like maybe 70 years old, not much past that. 6 to 12, maybe I can buy 6 a year, sticks of dynamite, even as a TI. The constitutional rights for my right to bear arms stripped. I can still buy dynamite. Thanks, China, for inventing it. Sincerely. This whole thing not hurting anybody else, but to disrupt this organ from any misleading at moments of death. A Bardo is a sliver of a moment. These monitors are very quick. By about 70, I'm going to dynamite my head on some Buddhist holy grounds near where I grew up. And they may never have known me or come out much to even see the white people. But learning from Lord Buddha helped me in a model for Christians getting overtaken with synthetic telepathy and handled, saying, Jesus, come take the wheel. And if they're uneducated in this technology and how deceptive it is, and the EMF perping, they could be handing over their kids to a sex criminal and then their head dunked in a well to be drowned alive. Go to sleep, Savior, go to sleep. And that's how fucking ruthless, this shit really is from the EMF. So in 1927, as Todd Giffen and Romola D talked about, there was a article from a scientific journal that was taken out of that obscure form of publication for mainstream and brought to the mainstream, and an alarm was sounded like in a large mainstream newspaper talking about this technology where this guy was able to get a primate to give up its young at the push of a button through electromagnetic manipulations of the primate. That was 1927. They've probably been making TIs and had that technology since the 20s. 2019, that's exactly what's going on. And Todd Giffen ringing the alarm bell all the way up to the Navy being the seat of power for this, and maybe a direct or a misdirect to caverns underneath Antarctica, for all I really know. There's been some speculations. Perping from a dumb, motherfuckers can't die. They're like, what up? I'm base Spartan, motherfucker, like Trojan horse. I'm about to go off. And then those motherfuckers can't die. Trying to control psychopaths and the EMF, and then they pop into 3D reality. I'm humiliated, not humbled, humiliated. The world really is very not Christian, particularly with the EMF. And we aspire to be. I'm more Buddhist. I don't rely on Jesus to take the wheel. That's extremely dangerous with synthetic telepathy. You can be totally misled and handled by a monitor sitting in their basement calling themselves Jesus and then raping your body with the rape codes. So, and that's what I'm up against. And they, few word try to alarm me, like the third world countries are being consumed by this technology. I'm being consumed here in the Northwest. All those people being broadcast in Seattle, those are my people. And they'll divide and conquer between TI to deny that constitutional right in pretty wicked ways. I saw some dust up between Romola D and Dr. Horton, and my perps are telling me they were faking the form of like Romola D to Dr. Horton to get them divided and conquered. And then they don't know that it was really an EMF perp faking somebody else's form. Satanic misdirection with people. The EMF is so skilled in that in no good ways. And then only fake them because how evil they really are. And allegedly, after reading the full Plato Stanford definition of evil, perps broke into the two-dimensional JPEG of Stanford University, and they're seeing all directions, monitor consciousness, and tried to successfully or not show up as the original professor that had written the definition of evil to exclude lessons from World War II, anything that involved EMF perpetrators even existing, and were either successful or not. I can't even verify. I saw them deep capture Portland State when I went back to take a couple classes. I believe them. And that would be in the mission statement of like the unspoken CIA, like always deniable. And then they get Kevin Christian. Kevin might not seem like much. You may underestimate Kevin Christian. But that man from the South has done more for me in like 2 years of YouTube videos than every PhD I've ever fucking met with. And that's the truth. I was getting perped.